Hey guys, it's Mel. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do the Good Place book tag. This is the first time I've actually been tagged to do a video, which I'm super excited about. I was tagged by Tate over at Bookishconstellations, who was actually the creator of this tag. I will link their announcement video in the description below. I highly recommend that you go and check out their tag video and their channel in general. They're a really cool booktuber. I will now get into the tag. Prompt number 1 is Eleanor, best character development. For this, I have chosen Marianne from Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. So obviously, this is a classic. It was set in the 1800s, so a lot of what she goes through and the way that she and her sisters live and her mother live is very much based in a time and a place that we don't live anymore. But in amongst that, I think that there's a really great lesson about romance and love and what actually makes a person a loving, trustworthy partner, as opposed to that first rush of love, that first rush of lust. Marianne is a character who, in the beginning of the story, is very romantic, and she sees the world through rose-tinted version of romance, shall we say. So she sees big grand gestures and big grand statements as love, and knowledge of Shakespeare and knowledge of the romantics and being able to quote Shakespeare, and like I said, these big bold gestures are what she sees as romance and therefore love. And throughout the story she starts to understand that actually that's all very well and good, but that actually love is not the same necessarily as romance, and that love is actually two people being together, making a choice to be together, understanding one another, caring about each other, caring about what the other person thinks and how they feel, and actually having a basis on which to build that romance and having a basis of a relationship to build that romance. And I really find that really lovely. I find that really interesting, and I just think that she grows up a lot. Anyway, the answer to prompt number 1 for me was Marianne from Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. Prompt number 2 is Cheaty, a book that made you anxious while you were reading it. The answer to that for me is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I found Brave New World really hard going. I found it really weird. I found all of the social commentary and the political commentary that Aldous Huxley was making throughout the book really hard to read. And although I thought it was pertinent, it was still really hard to read. I found the story really kind of cringeworthy, and I didn't think there was any characters that I really warmed to or that I really liked. Definitely made me feel anxious when I was reading it. So that was Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Prompt number 3 is Tahani, a rich or ignorant character that was humbled throughout the series or the book. I chose Effie from The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins for this one. I really feel like Effie is a character who definitely was humbled. She definitely comes from a really rich, well-off background. She is one of the capital elites, and she's part of the Hunger Games, and throughout the series she starts to develop an understanding of the world in which she lives and the capital and the role the capital plays in the continuation of the status quo, and she starts to develop a real feeling for the districts, and starts to become more than just a flighty capital member of the Hunger Games. And I really enjoyed her character arc. That was Effie from The Hunger Games. Prompt number 4 is Jason, a character who is a lot smarter or wiser than he appears. For this prompt, I have chosen Detritus, who is a character from the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. So Detritus is a troll, and in the Discworld series, trolls are, as you might imagine, not very smart at all, but having said that, Detritus, I think, is very similar to Jason. So he doesn't understand a lot of what's going on. He certainly misses a lot of nuance. But because of that, because he doesn't understand, he therefore filters out a lot of the superfluous information about a situation and can see straight through to the very heart of the situation. So I think that makes him, maybe not that he has those insights, but a lot of the time the way that he looks at the world gives other characters more insight into what's happening, and I find that really interesting. So my answer to prompt number 4 was Detritus from the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. The next prompt is Michael, and that is a book that you wish you could be the architect for. Tate has said that you can either take it in one of two ways. So you can either say that it was a world that you wish you could be the architect for because then you'd fix everything that was wrong with it, or a world that you wish you could be the architect for because it was just so well put together and realised that you wish you had a brain like that. So I've taken it the second way, and I've chosen The Discworld by Terry Pratchett. There are two reasons why I think that this is my answer to that question. And the first one is that Terry Pratchett's world, the Discworld, is just so rich. It's populated by such diverse and interesting characters. There's so much difference in the different continents, the different countries, the different ways that they live, the different cultures. There's so much interplay between the different cultures, and it's just amazingly well put together. But the other reason is because although the Discworld is absolutely, definitely a fantasy world, and the series is definitely a fantasy series, it's kind of actually more of a satire written in a fantasy setting. And for that reason, I think that the fact that Terry Pratchett gave us such a well-realised and well-constructed world is so amazing, because he's using that setting as a way to explore social realities and social norms and political situations in our own world. He didn't necessarily need to make the fantastical element of the Discworld so intricate, but he did. And I just think that's amazing, and I wish I had a brain like Terry Pratchett. Prompt number 6 is Janet, a non-human main character. You get bonus points if you choose a character who is non-binary as well, because Janet is non-binary. So for this one, I have chosen the Fool from the Realm of the Elderling series. I feel like I can't say too much about why I've chosen this character, because I don't want to give some information away to anyone that hasn't read beyond the Live Ship Traders trilogy. So I don't necessarily even want to say too much about why I've chosen this character to fit that prompt. Suffice to say that they do, and you'll just have to believe me. Prompt number 7, The Good Place, a book or series that should have been perfect but kind of just fell flat for you. For this one, I have chosen Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't actually dislike this book. I did enjoy the book. I thought that it was fun. I had a good time reading it, but I had heard a lot about how amazing this book was, and I think that it just didn't quite live up to the hype for me. So that was Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Prompt number 8 is The Bad Place, a book that you would use to torture someone in the bad place. For this prompt, I have chosen Deception Point by Dan Brown. If you are a Dan Brown fan, I apologise, but I really didn't like this book. I found the writing was pompous. I found the characters were entirely uninteresting and lackluster. I thought that the book overall was not well paced, and I just really didn't like it. And it left me feeling like I was supposed to think well of the author and think that, oh, this book makes him so intelligent, and I just ended up thinking he was arrogant. So again, if you're a Dan Brown fan, I apologise. I am not trying to make a comment on you or your opinions or your what you like, but I personally really didn't like this. If you really like Dan Brown and you think that I should give him another go, then please comment below and let me know. I'm willing to give him another try, but anyway, I definitely don't want to reread Deception Point, so that is the book that I have chosen. Prompt number 9 is Philosophy Class. A book or a series that turned a trope or an idea completely on its head. I have chosen The Air Affair by Jasper Fforde. I have been racking my brains to try and figure out how to describe to you this book and why it does that and why I enjoyed it. And I just feel like it is actually really hard to explain, and I just think that people should go and read it. I will say the very basic plot of this book and the series that it belongs to is that the literary world is actually real, and all of the characters in various books are in fact real, but they live in this other world, which is the literary world, and they exist in their own little universes, which are what the books are written about. So you can't have characters crossing over into each other's stories because that messes up with in our world's literature. So if you had I don't know, if you had Lizzie Bennet from Pride and Prejudice going over into Jane Eyre and being friends with Jane, she can do that as long as she's not messing with Jane's actual story. So it's almost like they kind of have a play that they live out when they're in this, when the story's happening, when someone's reading the story, and then they have another life that they live, and they hang out and be friends with each other but they can't interact with each other's stories. And anyway, the Eyre Affair is when something goes wrong in Jane Eyre, and there are literary agents, which are kind of like FBI agents, who exist in our world but travel into the literary world in order to enforce the laws about characters passing in and out of each other's stories. I told you it was confusing. But anyway, it totally flipped all of our understanding of literary fiction, the way that we understand writing and the way that we understand literature on its head, and gave us a whole different perspective. And I just thought that the books were amazing. So the books are The Eyre Affair is the first one, and the books are the Thursday Next series, and Thursday Next is a literary agent. So we follow Thursday as she goes through these various different situations in the literary world. So that was The Eyre Affair by Jasper Fforde. 2 more prompts to go. Prompt number 10 is spoilers. So the best twist to a book or a series. I found this one a bit difficult to answer. I definitely have a number of different books that I have found the plot twists really interesting and that I've really enjoyed. I don't necessarily think that I've come across any twists that have just had me completely aghast, but I've chosen 2 books that I really appreciated and enjoyed the twist of the story. So the first of those is Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. The first time I read this book, I just thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really well written. I really enjoyed the twist. I really enjoyed the fact that the main character, Rachel, is an unreliable narrator. That gives us a real sense of not really knowing what's going on. I didn't see the ending coming. I didn't guess who the perpetrator of the crime was. I didn't see the twist coming at all, and I really, really appreciate it when it came. And the second book is actually a fantasy book. It is not a mystery or a thriller at all, and that is Graceling by Kristen Kershaw. And I've chosen this book because I really, really enjoyed the way that the main character, when she learns something about herself, learns something about her power, it completely changes the way that she views herself, the way that she views the people around her, the way that she views her life, her decisions that she has made and will make. And I just thought that was really, really well done and really interesting. So that was Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins and Graceling by Kristen Cashore. And finally, series finale, a book or a series that absolutely broke your heart when it finished. Kind of not sure if I'm cheating in this one. I've chosen The Realm of the Elderling series by Robin Hobb. But I started reading this series about 20 years ago, and I read the first 2 trilogies, and then I've read the first 2 trilogies and the next few trilogies multiple times, but then the most recent trilogy only came out about, well, the last book in that trilogy only came out about 2 years ago. So I don't actually know, and if you are a fan of Robin Hobb and you know the answer, please comment below and let me know whether or not she has in fact finished writing, if it's done or not. But if it is, I'll be really, really sad, because I just love this series. I love the characters, I love the Fool, I love Fitz, and I don't want them to go away. Anyway, that was my answer to all the prompts for the Good Place book tag. Thank you so much to Tate for making this book tag. I'm now going to tag some people myself to do this tag. I think this tag works really well even if you haven't watched very much of The Good Place. So I hope that the people I am about to tag will agree and will enjoy doing this book tag. So those people are Faye from Mystery Date with a Book, Kat from Rustic Pages, and Michael from Michael Nip. I will link all of their channels in the description below. Go and check them out. They're really, really cool booktubers as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoy this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you next time.